Good morning, everybody. Welcome to EXSIN Live with Dave and Phil. Today, we're going to take another snippet from Lolly Daskell, who's one of my favorite leadership authors, and she does a lot of stuff in Forbes and other magazines. She did an article on why leadership fails and how to ensure it succeeds. So we're going to talk about the overarching topics in this story that she wrote and share our insights as to what she said. And the first one there is leading with arrogance instead of confidence.
Sorry, this is one of my favorite ones.
All I can say is, yeah, if you're a jerk, people aren't going to follow you.
I was talking to somebody last night down in our neighborhood. They had to take something out of their house, whatever, and we start talking, and they work for an employer here in town where we live, who I'm going to be very vague, but the essential, there was a person in leadership who was left to go somewhere else that everybody loved and respected, was the number 2 person in the organization. Number 1 person in the organization has a long, well-established history of being extremely arrogant. And their comment to me was whatever morale we had left when that person left. And it's because of the arrogance. You know, the person that they loved was a very confident, assured professional, but did things correctly, right, when dealing with human beings. So, yeah, arrogance will run you out of a leadership position, or I should say, unfortunately, it doesn't run you out, because if it ran you out, we'd get rid of all of them. But what it really does is arrogance creates horribly ran, very poorly motivated, low morale organizations, probably more than anything else in an organization.
Yeah, and on the same note, you need to remember this. Everybody you step on the way up is going to poop on you on the way down.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's a fair statement.
I have an emergency phone call from Grove. I'll be right back.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that you got to understand when you're talking about confidence and arrogance is there is a fine line, right? I mean, as far as how people interpret it. But the reality is a confident person doesn't care about being recognized. They don't care about people telling them how great they are. They don't care about all that stuff. What they care about is getting results. An arrogant person wants all the credit for everything. You know, no matter what happens, they want people to know that they were a part of it. You know, and great leaders that work with confidence, they understand the importance of simply, letting your team get the credit, get the accolades. You know, they don't care if they get them. I mean, they want folks to get recognition for great things that occur, whether it was the leader's ideal or not. Confident leaders want to push that recognition away over to their team. They're not worried about getting it themselves. And I think that's something that leaders need to really understand, is that there's just a lot of opportunity to mess things up in a big time way if you're more concerned about your own recognition from a place of arrogance and not your team's recognition from a place of just going out and doing and supporting and lifting them up.
It's all about your team, baby. Don't treat them like crap, but they're going to treat you like crap. That's how it works.
100%.
The next one is leading by withholding instead of communicating.
Oh, boy.
This is our favorite.
Oh, boy.
Because we talk about communication.
We just
all the
went
time.
through this with a client. Yeah. We're still going through this with the clients.
If you're not open and honest with your team, you're going to lose them.
Got to be transparent.
You're going to lose your company. You have to be transparent in leadership. That doesn't mean you have to sell everything as the sky is falling, but you need to be honest with people about how things are and work through it and find positive solutions.
Every great leader I've ever been around, this is the best way I've ever seen to describe them. When the whole world's collapsing around everybody, you got fires all around you, nothing's going right. They're the ones that are standing firm, that have the ability to remain calm and push through the issues. You know, we've seen it in the military. You know, the great leaders are the ones that will stand there when there's bullets flying all around them, and they're like, yeah, we need to go over here.
No, they become traffic directors, right?
100%.
They work towards a solution.
100%.
One of our clients, who's a team lead at a company, said it best. We don't fix anything by sitting here and complaining about it.
Nope.
We fix things about going and doing something about it.
Yep.
When things are falling apart, if you're not communicating well, things aren't going to get fixed. If you're just whining and crying, things aren't going to get fixed. So work towards a solution. Being upset doesn't fix anything.
Well, being part of the pity parade team has never served anybody well, right? I mean, the reality is in business and in life, you're going to have crappy days. I mean, sometimes you'll have a crappy week. I've said it a million times. You got it. Some days you're the duck, some days you're the eagle. You just got to be the eagle more than you're a duck, and you win. And so don't have an unrealistic expectation that problems are something that happen to you. Problems are part of living. Dave, and I love what he says this, he doesn't like the word problems, he likes the word challenges, right? And he's right, because they're just challenges you got to work through. Some are easier than others to handle, but at the end of the day, that's what they are. But one thing is certain, whether you want to call them problems or challenges, they don't go away by you ignoring them. And they sure don't go away by you withholding information from the very team that you're going to ask to go help you fix things. I mean, people can't help you if they don't understand what they're helping you through. Nope. So you've got to really communicate in an open and honest way.
Now the next one is indecisive leadership.
Well, I don't want to talk about this,
dude. If you can't make a decision, you shouldn't be in a leadership role. That is your job. Your job is to take the information from your team and make the best decision possible with all the inputs out there.
Now, I have been accused of being a ready, fire, aim kind of guy at times.
Oh, yeah, no. Phil will make a decision.
I'll make a decision, by God. Might blow your hair off. What do you do?
I've got my broom and my dustpan behind him. We're sweeping like this along the way sometimes. But there's...
But most strong leaders, they're thoughtful in the process, but they don't overanalyze, right? They don't get locked up by analyzing every possible, they consider all things, but they also understand the importance of walking out a plan. The old saying, 100%, a perfect plan never executed is worthless, right?
A 90% plan violently executed is more powerful than a 100% plan that's never executed.
It just sits there. I mean, so don't become this person that's always fixing to go do something, right? You've got to get in the habit of walking things out, of understanding that execution is about adjustments, turning on a dime when need be, making little strategic corrections, making tactical corrections. But you don't abandon your plan. You don't abandon what you're doing. You got to walk it out and understand that on the fly decisions, meaning, okay, we did this, boss, that didn't work. What are we going to do? Well, let me think. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, let's do this. That's how you end up getting where you want to be. That's just part of life.
Life without action is not life.
No, it's death. It's 100%.
Death. So the next one is leading with ego instead of humility. I don't know how many of you are religious out there, but I will tell you, it is all over the Bible about the importance of being humble in your life. And if you aren't humble, you'll have opportunities to learn how to be humble and be...
that are presented to you.
And you will learn humility, and you will look back and go, that hurt. Probably should have done that.
That hurt.
And if you like to learn lessons the hard way, like my kids do, you will learn it more than once.
Well, listen, I've learned many things the hard way in my life. I think most of us have. Hopefully, those hard lessons end when you're younger. But the truth is this: if you're involved, if you're running an organization, you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be missteps. There's going to be things that you just miss the mark on. That's part of it. Learn from it, right? Learn from it. It's not a coincidence that arrogance and confidence, and then a few topics down is ego and humility. Those go hand in hand, right?
They do.
I mean, and it's also easy to confuse the two. It just is. Somebody that is assured, that is self-assured in their decision making, for some people they're going to see that as having this huge ego. It's not the decisions they make, it's how they handle, in my opinion, it's how do you handle the challenges that come along the way as you're doing it. That's where really humility becomes so important. Because if you've got this huge ego and something's not working, but you stood up in a room full of people and said, by God, I've never been more sure of anything in my life, this is what we're supposed to do, and then it doesn't work. If you're driven by ego, you're going to continue down that bad path. If you have some humility, you're going to go, well, I got that one wrong. What do we need? We need to adjust.
Boss, the wheels are off the truck. The doors have fallen off. We no longer have an engine. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I'm reminded of of the Monty Python scene, which most of you probably hadn't seen.
I'm not dead yet.
What are you going to do? Gnaw me to death?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at some point you gotta stop a plan that's not working, own the mistake with your team, and find a solution.
Stop the bleeding, baby.
Yeah,
Stop the
hurting
bleeding.
yourself. The last one is leading without discipline.
Yeah, very dangerous.
I always tell people to use emotion for effect. Don't let it take over you. That's part of being a disciplined leader, right? Having a plan for your team every day. That's being a disciplined leader. Understanding the next 3 things that are going to happen. That's disciplined leadership. Trying to find out where are we going. Your job as a leader of the organization is to be this strategic visionary, showing your team where we're going and giving them the tools to get there.
Leaders got to be consistent. They got to be reliable. It doesn't matter if you're talking about communicating or in your actions. You absolutely have to do those things. You can be a real intense person as long as you're always intense.
Consistent behavior.
Consistent behavior. If you're not like that, then people are going like, hey, the boss is crazy. He came in today. And I've had some of those.
Well, they walk in today smiling, all cheers.
Yeah.
Next day he comes to rip somebody's head off.
Next day he comes in, he's just throwing stuff everywhere, But you got to be consistent in how you execute your leadership. I mean, there's just no room. The best leader that I ever personally worked with was a guy that it didn't matter what day it was, what time it was, what the situation was. The tone of his voice was always the same. His facial expressions were always the same. I mean, it was just steady, right? Just real steady. So what does that do? Well, that gives people confidence and peace, right? It makes them feel secure that they have a leader that they can count on. It's consistent.
Well, I'll tell you about this. Leadership is a responsibility. It is. You surround yourself with great people and you stay humble, and things are going to work out for you.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you're going to learn a lot of lessons that a lot of people learn in their life. And I'm going to say this. If you're between the ages of 20 and 40, find somebody that's over 50 that's been there and have coffee with them a couple times a month and bounce ideas off of them and accelerate your leadership journey as opposed to trying to learn everything on your own.
And I would tell you this too. I agree with that. Don't be afraid. Don't look for just the shiny person that everybody wants to talk to. There's a lot of lessons learned from people that have struggled.
Yep.
And then many times have lost everything. Now hear me out on this. As long as they're reflective and they're in a place now to where they're being transparent and honest about those experiences, I've always said you can get a lot more value out of learning what not to do than you can on what to do. I mean, there's something about somebody who gets to a place in their life that's willing to say, you know what, when I was doing this, I really screwed this up. These are the things I did, and it cost me this. I've said this before. I believe this wholeheartedly. Anything that's ever changed in my life for the better was when there was pain attached to it. Hopefully the pain's not too severe, but very few people will make change if there's not a consequence to that negative behavior.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And so you've got to be honest about just who we are as human beings. I mean, we all want everybody to think we've all got it together, that we've got all the answers, that we know everything, that we do everything right. And the truth is that person does not walk the planet. Everybody messes up. Everybody screws up. But if you walk it out with humility, you walk it out with confidence and not arrogance, if you communicate well, if you're steady, consistent, right, in your actions and how you conduct yourself every day, if you're thoughtful in those processes, things are going to work out in the end. But it starts by being honest about who we are. And remember this, none of us are special. Nobody's special. Elon Musk, when he gets a tummy ache, doesn't leave the house, right? I mean, you could take the biggest, baddest general in the world, if they're walking it out with arrogance, they're going to struggle. It doesn't matter who you are or what your station in life is. If you do these things incorrectly, you're going to struggle.
It's fact.
So understand that.
You're probably going to lose your team or lose your job.
Yeah, and understand too, every great person I listened to I'm going to give you guys a great podcast to listen to. It's called How I Built That. And it's Guy Raz. You can look it up on all the popular podcast platforms. But he interviews founders is what he does. And he just hears their story. And at the end of every interview, you always ask this question. I think it's a great question, Dave. How much of your success do you attribute to luck, and how much do you attribute to hard work? What's consistent is this. I've never heard anybody that's been really successful, the people that are being honest, that have said, oh, it's the majority of it's hard work. There is luck involved in everything that we do, but I believe you manufacture your own luck.
Absolutely.
If you are consistent, if you have humility, if you're confident and not arrogant, if you treat people correctly, if you communicate transparently with your team, you're manufacturing your luck, right? Because you're doing all the stuff correctly to put you in a position to have success.
Well, one of the greatest football coaches ever, Coach Fisher DeBerry, said this.
Great coach.
Luck is when planning and preparation meet opportunity. Yep. If you're not prepared for when that comes and you're not ready to take that swing, you're not going to get there. So if you're not planning, preparing, and building that team, you will never have luck.
Coach DeBerry, the greatest coach, I would say, in the history of the military academies.
He won more games than most with a bunch of ragtag military dudes. So.
A bunch of undersized, dirty boys.
Really smart, a bunch of undersized, slow, smart kids.
Well, I've met a lot of them. One of them sitting to my left. They had a little bit of dog in them too, so that helped. That helped quite a bit.
We didn't quit now.
That's right.
So with that, this episode of EXSIN Live, we are out of here.